Today, you will be creating a journal entry. So, what is a journal exactly? Well, journals are private writings that people sometimes share with others. These become awesome first-hand accounts of an event and are told in order by date. They are written in first person, so you will be using I, me, my, and ours throughout your writing today to show that it is first person. They are personal and full of details. Your emotions, your thoughts, the setting, and history of the time are all important in journal writing. And they tell about past events. When writing about the past, make sure you write your verbs in past tense. So you would write ran instead of run, or walked instead of walk. You probably remember that on the Lewis and Clark journey, they kept a journal of their travels out west. They documented their time with Sacagawea, the plants and animals they saw, their hardships, and their successes. So now let's look at today's performance task. Today, you are going to write a journal entry where you pretend you are Rip Van Winkle. You will write a journal entry where you tell what happened to you. Your one-paragraph journal entry will be written in first-person point of view. First, you will use details from the text to help you explain what happened to you before you fell asleep. Then, you will pretend that your daughter Judith has filled you in on what you missed while you were sleeping for 20 years. This is the part of the performance task where you will explain what happened in the country while you were sleeping. You will need to use the video from this week to help you with this part. Finally, you will explain how things are different now. Remember that T-chart from the other day? Now is the time to use that to give 3 specific examples of how the country is different in 1789 than it was in 1769. Let's go over the specifics of your performance task today. I will discuss your rubric as well as some pointers getting started on your actual journal entry. First, let's take a look at the rubric. I'm going to go over each item on the rubric and give some detail about what I'm expecting. I'm also going to talk about how many points it's worth. So let's look at number 1. Number 1 says, my journal entry explains what I was doing before I fell asleep. I describe the setting in detail. So you're going to need to mention where you were, what you were doing, and what year it was when you fell asleep. Number 2, my journal entry explains what happened while I was sleeping. Remember, your daughter Judith filled you in after you woke up. So as a hint, you should probably give some details from the video about the Revolutionary War, which started in 1775 and was during the time period that you were sleeping. That would have been big news. That's worth 20 points. Number 3, I explain what life is like now. This is where you're going to give your 3 details about how life now in 1789 is different than life was in 1769. So you're going to want to use your T-chart for this part of the rubric. So as a hint, I want you to think specifically about how the setting of the play has changed. How has it changed between those 2 time periods? That is worth 30 points. Number 4, your journal entry is written in the correct verb tense. For example, when explaining what happened in the past, it should be past tense. When explaining what life is like now, it would be present tense. That is worth 10 points. Number 5, my journal entry is told in first person point of view, so it's written by Rip Van Winkle. That's worth 10 points. Number 6, my journal entry has proper conventions, including spelling, grammar, and punctuation, and I have indented my main paragraph. That is worth 10 points. So there is a total of 100 points that you can get on this performance task. Now let's take a look at how to get started. So the first thing that you might see in a journal is some kind of a greeting to yourself. Remember, this is first person. So you might say, Dear Journal. Then we want to make sure that we indent, and we need to start 20 years ago. We need to start when you first fell asleep. So a sample sentence might look like, It all started 20 years ago when and then this is where you would give your details about the year, what you were doing, and the setting. Next, I need to discuss what my daughter Judith told me that I missed while I was asleep. So this is going to be all that important information about the Revolutionary War and all the changes that happened in the 20 years that I was sleeping. Finally, I need to explain what life is like now in 1789. You need to tell me the 3 things that are different between 1769 and 1789. So this would be where you're going to want to look at your T chart to really find those 3 differences that you've already written down, and you're going to put them in your journal. So as an example, you might say, for example, also, and one more thing. And that's what I did here in my journal entry. And finally, you're probably going to want to sign off just with your name, Rip Van Winkle.